A wise man once said, "You should be careful giving a begging man anything, for when you stop, they won't remember all the times you did good, but the times you didn't." Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially just like the government shutdown has finally come to an end, thank goodness. But I do think this situation is definitely a teachable moment to the generations of what happens when you give the government the power to feed you, because unfortunately it is implicitly true that you give it the power to starve you. And so I got this clip right here of just somebody crashing out, and it's like, yeah, let's take a moment to kind of analyze this a little bit and then look at the scriptures, because the Bible's an ancient wealth of knowledge, and it often self-corrects the situations that we face now with wisdom of the old. But with that being said, let's get into it.
I don't even get SNAP benefits. I don't get SNAP benefits, and I don't care. This is actually fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is a wartime zone. This is literally insane that this country is literally this ridiculous. Supreme Court, bro, the Supreme Court. You have to be shitting me. God. You have people no food. They have no food. The people in your country have no food. Babies don't have food right now. You're kidding. I need for y'all to remember this. When time comes around for you to actually say something and do something when it comes to a vote, you need to remember when you was hungry and you ain't had no food and they had the money and they didn't give it to you.
They had the money and they didn't give it to you. You know, that like there is a pressing question in our modern era. What is the purpose of the government? Because when it comes to crime, they can't seem to, make the streets safe. When it comes to policies, they don't seem to be working as well as they should. And when it comes to just who gets which seat, there seems to be a bloodbath of a threat to democracy versus liberal lunatics. And it's like, what in the world is our government, man? Because, well, when it comes down to it, I think situations like this are unfortunate. Side note, let's see what the comments have to say. That money long gone, cause ain't no money. This is the nail in the coffin for this administration. My friend and mom got their snap back. What they should be cutting is the amount of vacations they take a year. People are too absorbed with a glass bear cup to care about anything else. The money is spent. And so it's very interesting how they're looking at other people's money instead of just their own money. And so naturally, as a Christian, what do I think about government benefits? I think they're overreaching, and they created naturally weak people, which I guess is controversial in the generation, because like the Bible verses that people often know are what? Give to the poor, right? But I want to show you guys a very interesting. Firstly, I want to show you guys a very interesting situation, because naturally I want to pair everything I'm trying to say with the text. Now, how many people know about the times Jesus fed thousands of people? Right? These are very amazing times, right? This is one of them. But there's something very interesting that Jesus does here. So, right off the bat, this is John chapter 6, verses 11 through 26. Naturally, I don't think we have the time. Well, I don't think you have the time watching this to go through this, at least on video. But just paraphrasing here, Jesus has just fed them like so much so that now we have so much left over, despite what we began with, which was, I would assume, two fish and 5 loaves. Now, verse 15 says that, well, actually, verse 14 says that they understand, they come to an understanding that this is the prophet, the messenger, the Messiah, the Christ. But Jesus does something very interesting here. He says, well, his thought process in verse 15 is this: perceiving that they would come They were about to come and take him and force to make him king. Jesus withdrew himself to the mountain. And so they see him able to provide them physical material substance, and they want to venerate him for what he's done. And he has a very interesting reaction. He does not want this. And afterwards, the disciples go out to the sea. Jesus does Jesus things, walking on water. And we come to the situation where they're looking for him, right? Like, the disciples are gone, Jesus is gone, and they are looking for him. Where'd he go? We want to make him king. And verse 25 reads as this, essentially when they find him, when they catch up. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here? And Jesus answered them, Truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. If I'm not mistaken, just to go to the full chapter here, verse 27, let me see. Jesus says here in verse 27, do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For on him God the Father has set his seal. And naturally, we go into obviously like deeper theology with Moses and whatnot. But the point is, Jesus fed them, and he avoided them because they only looked at him as essentially a cow that they can milk. And it's very interesting, this situation, because this teaches us in many ways that, firstly, like, the chapter's point is that they don't know what they're handling is, so naturally they want him to be a human king when he is the King of Kings. So let's always state what the chapter is telling us first. But it also tells us something. Jesus does not want us to be so, I guess, incapable that they depend on him, like literally to milk him dry, instead of being able to be capable enough to provide and well, just that, sustain themselves as far as just living in this world. People got the wrong idea about what the government's job is for. It is here to just that, serve the people and make sure there's order, not provide for the people. Because naturally, what happens when the government unfortunately falls apart, or I guess is not available? Havoc. And what's crazy enough is, this isn't like my interpretation is not something that isn't found in scripture, because we literally see later on that the disciples had the same mentality as Jesus. Did they do miracles? Of course. Did they feed the poor? Of course. But they did not disable the poor to be able to not further provide for themselves by becoming their new fridge. No, if anything, they had this mentality. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 8 to 11, it says, Nor did they eat anyone's bread without paying for it, but with toil and labor we worked day and night, that we might not be any burden to you. It was not because we did not have the right, but to give you ourselves as an example to imitate. For even when we were with you, we would give you this command: if anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. For we bear that some among you walk in idleness, not busy at work, busy bodies. It's a real thing. Like, it is for 2,000 years. It's not right, and it's not right. Well, I mean, it's not right to help these people in that way that unfortunately causes them long term to not be able to help themselves. You have to have discernment, you have to have nuance, you have to be able to look at case by case basis, yes, but understand that the principle still stands. An individual who is incapable is not totally incapable for a lifetime. We need to be able to better the people, not cripple them through just that easy access. Even in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 28, it says, let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need. So in other words, the individual who lacks not like give him the power to provide for himself so that he can thereby give to others. But we don't have that mentality anymore, right? At least not over the world. We want more government to fix the problem when the problem requires a different solution. Even in Proverbs chapter 21 verse 25, it says the desire of the sluggard kills him. Like, sluggard obviously means lazy person. The desire is not right. They do not want to work. They desire to be lazy. Desired sluggard man kills him, for his hands refuse to labor. In other words, every single individual, unfortunately or fortunately, is responsible for providing for themselves. And if they forego their own responsibility, why is it put on somebody else's? Like, why is their downfall somebody else's fault? Proverbs chapter 10 verse 4 says, "A slack hand causes poverty." A slack hand, not really gripping the bars or maintaining its hold, slippery hands that do not, because the hand is obviously a representation of grabbing, obviously, and in some places, whether it's right or left hand, they represent deeds or actions. So a slack hand is essentially a hand that does not want to be used, or does not want to, well, simply put, go after things to feed itself, right? But it causes poverty. But the hand of the diligent makes rich. Language is clear. The scriptures is trying to communicate to us that we need to, in many ways, self-govern ourselves when it comes to our own lives, and to expect someone else to do it for us, unfortunately, creates pretty much our inevitable downfall. And so that's unfortunate. And that's all the verses I have for you guys. Let me know what you guys think regarding just exiting this government shutdown. Do you think that it reveals something important, or do you think that we need more programs to provide for the poor? Personally, it's a tough situation, and it revealed a lot. It revealed the mentality of weak people, to be so dependent on what is handed down to them that they cannot go out and grab stuff themselves. And I think that's the most tragic thing about this whole situation. But with that being said, appreciate you guys for watching this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless and stay blessed.